Alright, so in this video we are going to be going over uh, all of the rotations associated with AVL trees and kind of finishing up how the insert algorithm works. So everything we've been talking about so far all happens in insert. So I wanted to come back to this before moving on to the rotations. So when you insert, we've talked about a bunch of these pieces, but it'll be good to put it all together now. The first step is to search the tree, and as you're walking down the tree to find where to insert, you're keeping track of your path by putting the node pointers onto a stack. If you don't find the thing that you're inserting, that means you're going to insert where you fell out of the tree, increase the size, and then you're going to walk back up the tree. You do this by taking nodes off the stack that you saved and updating the heights. If you ever find a height that is the same, then you can exit the loop. Otherwise, you'll check to see if the AVL condition is met, and if it is, you'll update the height and continue on. And then lastly, you'll check if the condition is broken. So if the AVL condition is broken, then you need to do a rotation. And this is the part that we're going to be talking about in this video. So the first step is that you need to determine what type of broken tree you have. So we've only talked about left-leaning and right-leaning trees, which require a left and right rotation. So that's what you can think about it as right now. You're basically going to determine if you need to do a right rotate or a left rotate, perform the rotations, and then exit the loop. Now the thing is that there isn't just two options, so there isn't only right and left rotate, so that's what we're going to be talking about in this video, but this kind of brings together everything we've been talking about. So insert is where everything happens. So everything we've been talking about is all happening as you are adding to the tree. So right and left rotate is what we talked about. We went through and wrote out the entire algorithm for right rotate, and we wrote out the pseudocode, which is almost exactly the same for left rotate. The basic idea is if you have a completely left-leaning tree, you do one rotation to the right. If you have a completely right-leaning tree, then you rotate to the left. However, those aren't the only two cases. Sometimes we need two rotations. So in the case of this tree where we add 45 to the tree and it goes in as shown here in yellow, we can see that it's broken at node 48, but you'll notice that it is not clearly a left or right leaning tree. It's like imbalanced in the middle. And so when you have a tree like this, it requires you to do two rotations. So the first rotation that you do is if you look at 38, you'll see that 38 has, well, first it breaks at 48, so you can go through and actually work it out. But this is where you actually find that the AVL condition has broken, where the left tree and the right tree have more than one difference in heights. So the algorithm works that you basically do a left rotate at the node where it broke its left tree. So you go to 38 and you perform a left rotate. So it will look like this. So at 48 at 38 you'll rotate using a left rotate, and you'll get, this tree here. So this is just after rotation. And now you can identify that this is the left-leaning tree that we're used to. So then when you get here, you're just going to do a right rotate at 48. So now you're at that broken node, and you're just going to do what we have been doing with a right rotate. They're both following the algorithm, so this is just performing a left rotate at 38, and this is performing a right rotate at 48. But what's different is that in this case you need to have two rotations instead of one. So basically what it comes down to is you can summarize all imbalances into four cases. 2 of the cases require 1 rotation and 2 of the cases require 2 rotations. So if you have a tree and you are broken at node n, if you insert into A, then that's called case 1, and that requires a right rotate. If you insert into subtree B, then that's case 2, that requires a left rotation and a right rotation. If you insert into subtree C, that requires a right rotation then a left rotation. And then if you insert into subtree D, that means you need a single left rotation. And so this is just like a really nice visual that summarizes all of the rotations that are possible, and they all come down to these 4 cases. So the question is, how can you determine which cases? So that was, if you go back to that algorithm on the first page, that was the first thing you need to do once you've found that the AVL tree is broken, is then determine which of the 4 cases it is. So, for example, this is obviously a really common algorithm, so this is very well known how to do this, but how can you determine between cases 1 and 2? How can you determine whether you are needing to do either 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, one or the other? So as an example, you can do either of these 2 things. So if the left's height is greater than the right height, if the left's height is greater than the right's height, then you know that it's going to be either 1 or 2. Or if the inserted key that you just inserted that caused the AVL condition to be broken, if it's less than n's, then you also know you're in the cases 1 and 2 instead of cases 3 or 4. So either of those can work using the height or the inserted key value comparison. And so then you can further do similar things to actually distinguish between 1 and 2 or 3 and 4. Does that make sense? So this is how you can tell whether you need to do 1, 2 or 3, 4, and then you can further do a similar comparison of heights or keys to determine whether you're now in case 1 or case 2. So let's try this out. So in this case here, we're going to add 58. So let's go through and add the heights before the insertion. So we will add in all the heights into the tree. That's not right. Did that too fast. Okay, so now we're going to insert 58. So when we insert 58, we'll update the heights and check the AVL conditions. So that's 0, so this becomes 1. This becomes 2, this is fine. 1 and 0, that is fine. Then we go up here, so this becomes 3. This is 0 and this is 2, so this is where it's broken. So at 40, it's broken. So now we know it's broken here and we need to determine what case it is. This one's actually pretty easy to tell because we can tell that it's right leaning, so it needs a left rotate. And we can tell that because 58 is greater than 40, so we know it went on that side. We can also tell that because the height of the right subtree from 40 is greater than the right subtree, or the left subtree's height. So we're on case 4 in this particular scenario. So let's rebalance this subtree. So to do this, we're going to perform a left rotate. So I'm going to pull up my left rotate. So we're broken here. So this is N. And then R is here. And then we have this, which is C. This is going to be B. I have to look at the picture of the left rotate, like that slide. I can never do this without it. And this is A. So we have everything labeled. So now we just need to do the rotation. So to do the rotation, we will start with R. So R gets pulled up. And R links to N. And I want to label these, so I'm going to choose a different color. So this is N. My dog wants to get out again, but he just came in. He's going to have to wait. I find this very relaxing to do this, by the way. Okay, so R has C coming off of it. So we're going to have 54 and 58 coming off of it. So that's C, that remains unchanged. And then let's relink N. So N keeps A as its left child. And then N gets relinked to B, which is 45. We had all these heights calculated, so if you remember, we don't need to calculate the height, recalculate the heights of A, B, or C subtrees. Those will stay the same. So those heights are 0 and 1. And then we will need to update N's height, so N's height becomes 1 and R's height is going to become 2. And then we need to update the parent node. So we know that the N came off of 60's left, so we can update 60 to come off 60's left link to link back to the tree, and then the rest of the tree remains the same. So that's the basic idea. So the whole process is you insert, you fall out, you keep track of where you came from and go back up, check the heights, check the AVL condition, find where it breaks. Once you know where it breaks, you determine whether it's case 1 through 4. We determined it was case 4. We performed the left rotate on 40. So here's a summary of all the cases. So you can come back and look at this if you want more details. I actually really like the one slide that lays out all the 4 cases, but this is just another way of wording it if you like this. Case 1, case 2, case 3, and case 4. And that is it. That is all we have for inserting into an AVL tree and all the different rotation types. Thanks.